what they Jackson Heights wins? Jackson Heights. It's very nice. All right, well, I'm going to start. People will figure out we're doing this in a second. So why did you guys pick a wasp class?
I see a lot of wasps.
You see a lot of wasps.
Yellow jackets. Are yellow jackets wasps?
Yeah, are yellow jackets wasps? That's a great question. Yes, they are.
Okay, so I'm in the right spot.
All right, so we're going to do this pretty quick. We only have about a half an hour for this, so hopefully this is only about 15 minutes or so. And just start with a little video of a bold-faced hornet that actually I saw catch one of my bees out of the air, and I tracked it right down to the concrete. And as you can see here, it's actually chewing off the arms, the legs, the wings, the abdomen, and the head, and it only takes the thorax back to the nest. As beekeepers, these are important things to know. We need to know what the wasps are actually doing. Otherwise, we just make assumptions, and that won't help us actually solve the problems that we're trying to solve, or knowing if they even are problems. So my name is Rozak. I own Green Stinger Beekeeping on Staten Island. And part of what I do is hornet and wasp removals. My business is actually a bee removal, but to fill up time, I do other ones as well. I'm the president of the Staten Island chapter for the New York Bee Club. I'm working towards my Master Beekeeper certificate at Cornell right now, and I'm also a beekeeper for BU on Staten Island. So what is a wasp? So wasps are very closely related to bees. Most people that aren't in the field will just confuse the two together. One of the things that is unique about them is they have a wasp waist that bees don't have. So you can see here, good on this yellow jacket, their waist is very, very narrow. They typically do not have fur, but there's a lot of exceptions to that. And they scavenge or hunt for proteins. That's one of the main differences between wasps and bees. Bees are going out getting pollen as their protein source, and wasps are going out and getting meat as their protein source.
Never sugar? Or
that's a carbohydrate. So bees and wasps both collect nectar the same. So that's their carbohydrate, that's their sugar. It's only the protein source that's different. Yes. So they're both Hymenoptera. Hymenoptera also include ants. But if you notice, bees and ants came from wasps. So wasps came first, and it is a very large, crazy category. I couldn't even give you real numbers on how many exists. But just as beekeepers, we need to understand that wasps, the bees are actually like a specialized type of wasp. So what wasps do we have here in New York City? There's hundreds of them, but we're only going to talk a few that actually affect our honeybees. So to help you see the slide a little bit bigger, and I apologize, there is a typo on it. I already printed them out. There's a typo at this point.
I get that guy. That's the
thank you.
this motherfucker right here.
So we're going to go over 4 main types of wasps that I picked. These are very common here in New York City, and these are ones that I know personally interact with my bees. So the top one is a bold-faced hornet. It's unique because there's no yellow on it whatsoever. It is just black and white. Bottom left, we have the European hornet, which is our only true hornet. We'll go over that. And then we have yellow jackets over here. There's about 35 different yellow jacket species in North America. According to Cornell, we have at least 7 or 8 in New York State. I picked 2, which are the 2 that I see the most common on Staten Island, but doesn't mean that they're the only ones you're going to interact with. But I picked the Western yellow jacket and the German yellow jacket. So, before you ask, is a yellow jacket a wasp? But these are some colloquial terms. First of all, everyone confuses everything with a bee. They see this hanging in their bush, and they're like, oh, I have a honeybee swarm. They don't know. So when people say they have bees, it might be, people don't know. So everything's a bee in most people's heads. And then they have things like yellow jackets and hornets. A lot of people think like hornets and wasps are different. They're not. Hornets is a type of wasp. Yellow jacket is a type of wasp. And these are all colloquial terms, and they're really overlapping, and there's no science behind them, and they're very confusing. So just keep that in mind as we go through. So here's our bold-faced hornet, black and white. It is not a hornet. It's actually in the yellow jacket family. So figure that one out. They build nests above ground, typically 10 to 20 feet up. They exterior paper mache nests. So most of these nests on the table are bold-faced hornets, all of them minus this one here. Envelope means that it's layers of paper with an air gap in between.
How high up did you say usually take?
10 to 20 feet, typically. So about a story to 3 stories high.
So like garage sales.
Yep.
That kind of thing.
They're always hanging from trees or the side of the house or a roof eave. They want something, and sometimes they're very exposed, but they want something they can secure onto. Tiny. Their colonies are typically 200 to 300. This year, I think because of the rainy spring, they were actually much smaller, but I've seen them bigger, typically around that time. They are scavengers first, but they will hunt honeybees. All right, they will do both. What's just a cool fact about them, this is one of my favorite wasps, by the way, but a cool fact about them is they can actually spray their venom at you. So most wasps can just sting you. These girls can actually fly in front of you and just spray the venom at your eyes. Which can cause temporary blindness, which I can personally attest to. And if it even hits your skin, it will make it a little red and itchy, especially if you get it a few times. But that being said though, they actually are not that aggressive, so you really don't have to worry about that. European hornet. So this is the second largest wasp we have here in New York. It's definitely the largest one you're going to see bothering your bees. It is the only actual true hornet in New York City as of right now. It can exceed about 1.5 inches in size. It builds nests inside cavities, so it's going to be inside a hollow of a tree or inside a wall of a house. They're not exposed nests like the ones you see on the table. They are true hornets. They are true hunters, so these prefer to hunt. This is the only species that will actually hunt near your beehive. So the bold-faced hornets will hunt individual foraging bees out in the wild. This is the only one that has the balls to actually come next to your beehive. So we'll see some videos of that in a second. And they're gentle giants. I've never been stung by one. I've never even seen one try to sting me. I can pick them up. I can walk next to the hive and bang on the wall and they come out and they don't bother stinging. Now, yes, they can sting humans. They just really don't have a desire to do that. They kind of just save their energy for whatever they're hunting. They're not hunting us. Again, 200 to 300 per colony. Yellow jackets. So yellow jackets are aggressive, much more than the first two we went over. We're going to start with the German yellow jacket. Black and white, small, typically build a nest in walls or hollows of trees, which is unique because these are actually native to Northern Europe. And in Northern Europe, they're subterranean wasps. They build underground. For some reason, their isolated species that's here in North America typically likes being above ground. They are aggressive. They are mainly scavengers. You're not going to see these guys hunting your bees, but they will be picking off dead bees. And they can 4,000 to 5,000 per colony.
Will that one try and get into the hive?
No.
It's these guys here, the Western yellow.
We'll go over that. But I got surprising news for you. None of these species will try to get inside your hive.
I swear
We'll go over. Western yellow jacket, they build a nest underground. Most yellow jackets are subterranean, they're underground, so when you're mowing your lawn or hiking, you'll step on the nest. These are very aggressive. They can exceed 5,000. This is one of the only wasp species in New York that can survive winter and over nests. So their nests can get bigger, 2 or 3 years bigger. So you got to be careful with that if they start surviving. It's typically something they do more down south, but it is starting to get reported up here. So they are very large. So if you notice those pictures of the 2 yellow jackets, I'm not even sure if those were the correct species or not. The patterns on the back are kind of like the thumbprint to identify a yellow jacket species called a gaster pattern. And if you notice down here, Pennsylvania is your Western, and Germanica is your German. And it's almost identical. So you really got to be careful with that. I normally identify them by where they're living and what kind of nest they have. But when you see an individual flying, sometimes you're not sure. So real quick, just some things that make wasps differ from our bees. They have foundress, not a queen. So foundress will emerge from hibernation, diapause during spring, and she will be the only bee. So she will make the nest, lay the eggs, go hunting, go scavenging, be the nurse bee for when they're in the larvae stage. She does everything herself. So she's the foundress, she starts the hive. Come like June or July though, she'll start having daughters to take over those other tasks. And then she'll start playing a role more typical to a honeybee queen. All of these species make nests out of paper, so they chew on bark and wood, mix it with their saliva and sap, and that's the paper mache nest you see on the table. The drones will appear in late fall, so different season than our honeybees. They will lay princesses in late fall, the mating season is late fall, and then all of the freshly mated princesses go straight into diapause. So they go underground and they go into hibernation mode for the summer, winter. And then they'll reemerge in spring and start fresh new colonies on their own. So their mating season is actually opposite from our honeybees. So it's important to know because like before you were asking about the yellow jackets in your compost pile, I can be assured that their queen is probably dead already, and they're actually homeless, and that's why they're bothering your compost pile so much. So these are important things for us to know when we see their behaviors. And then the remaining workers will just randomly scavenge for barbecue or garbage until they die off come frost. But a lot of times in late fall, they don't even have a nest anymore. So what do wasps eat? So adult wasps, just like honeybees, don't actually process protein. They're hunting to bring the food back to the larvae in their nests. The wasp larvae are what eats our honeybees and other insects. The adult wasp you see flying around really only eats the carbohydrates, the nectar or the honey they might be stealing. So it's very similar to what honeybees do. The larvae of the wasp will eat the protein, and they actually produce a jelly, which we call wasp soup, which is a protein source that the bees can eat. So an individual adult bee actually really can't survive without the nest because they'll never be able to process their own protein without a larvae to help. And late fall, when the foundresses stop laying eggs, the adult wasps really just want sugar. They want our soda, they want our barbecue dressings. They just become annoying and kind of homeless. Okay, so now we're going to talk about honeybees and wasps interacting a little bit. So, do wasps bother our bees? Again, there's hundreds, thousands of different species of wasps in New York, and the vast majority of them want nothing to do with their bees. The ones that we're concerned about are eusocial large colony wasps. So four that we use as an example. But you know, an individual a small individual potter wasp or a paper wasp that only has about 30 in their colony, they're not going to bother with our bees. They don't have the numbers. So we're going to go through a few things real quick. We're going to go through honey robbing, which hopefully some of us are familiar with. We're going to go through scavenging of dead bees, carpeting, which is a honeybee behavior, and hawking, which is a wasp behavior. And all this will tie to wasp stress. The stress that a wasp can cause our honeybee hive can be detrimental, can kill. So it's one of the many things that can lead to the demise of our honeybees. So are wasps stealing the honey from our bees? They definitely would like to, but they're not going to do it on their own. For the four species that I mentioned already, when you see them entering your hive, it's because there's already a problem with your hive. All right, there's probably already honeybees robbing that hive. It's easier for us to see the one that stands out. It's easier for us to see the one yellow jacket instead of the other 10 honeybees that are also robbing the hive. They just look the same. So just keep that in mind. So when we're dealing with robbing, typically robbing is triggered by other honeybees. Honeybees can be assholes to other honeybees. So the same ways that you would protect your hive from robbing from other honeybees is the same way you're going to protect them from wasps. But just keep in mind that most of the species that we talked about here are not going to initiate this. They're going to take advantage of a situation that's already happening. So keep strong, healthy hives. That's the best thing you can do. If your hive can defend its own entranceway, you don't have to worry about any of the wasps we currently have in New York City. No extra space. You know, keep your hives small enough that they can defend everything. External feeders. That was mentioned in the previous speech that external feeders can attract the yellow jackets and will escalate into a larger problem. Leaking feeders. I know a lot of people, they put the internal feeders and then it starts leaking out the bottom. That's going to attract everything. Don't let that happen. Entrance reducers help. Keeping track of your nectar flows. If you know you're on a dearth, like I'm on Staten Island, we have a dearth late August. I'm very aware that yellow jackets and robbing might be a problem during the dearth. But once the nectar flow starts up again in late and early September, the problem probably goes away. So just be aware of that. So scavenging. During the night, our bees aren't flying. They're just throwing out dead bees. And I make a little pile of dead bees in front of the hive. You're going to see yellow jackets every day. They know it's a reliable food source for them. So they're going to be there every day on the ground, chewing up those dead bees, moving the wings and the legs and flying away with the thoraxes. That's okay. I don't see a problem with that. That's maybe helping my hive in the long run, keeping a sanitary situation. But monitor that. Make sure that they're not going near the entrance or bothering the guard bees. As long as they're on the ground, scavenging the dead bees, that's nature. That's fine as far as I'm concerned. But ways to prevent that, clean up piled dead bees outside your hive. Clean up your wax and your propolis. When you're doing inspection, you scrape away a little burr comb and you have a tendency just to scrape it and let it drop on the floor. You're attracting the wasps, you're attracting raccoons. Don't do that. So keep your area clean. You really can't do anything about the dead bees because that's happening 24/7, but don't give them even more food to attract them to your hive. Yellow jackets return every day once they know that there's a food source, that's fine. Just monitor it and make sure that they're not bothering the entrance. If they start bothering the entrance, you probably have a robbing situation. Alright, so this is cool. So this is carpeting. So this is something that our honeybees can innately do when they're under stress. So the last one, wasp stress. I see this hive, this is a picture of one of my hives, and I know that this hive is dealing with wasp stress right now. I have no entrance introducer in, and I also have an additional entrance here. Not the greatest thing if there's something going on. But I looked at my 3 hives in this yard, and only this hive is doing this, so I knew there was a problem. What they're doing is they're mimicking a larger creature. So they're covering the entrance, and they're covering this entrance up here. These are all guard bees right now. Would you typically have this many guard bees in front of a hive? No. Something's going on. So they're trying to imitate a larger thing, and when they see the wasp that they're afraid of, they're going to move in unison. They're going to stand up on their back legs and wave their hands in the air. And as stupid as I look, it's really cute when they do. But you have to understand that that's a stressor for them. So let's watch a video here. Can everyone see the video? And I'll play this again later if you want to come up. So here's a European hornet. You saw how it went after the individual bee, and the bee ran into the cluster. And now they're trying to come and attack the larger cluster. So I'm going to zoom in a second. I'll let you come up afterwards, but...
Oh, wow.
So they all in unison stand up and wave their hands. So they're scaring away this predator. Now, when this is happening, this is very stressful to your hive. And typically the European hornet is only going to attack foragers, returning bees. They know that they're laden down with honey. They're probably not defensive. They're not going to attack these guard bees. But if there's so many guard bees out right now, how many foragers do you think are actually going out? You think this hive is collecting pollen and nectar today? No. If this is a persistent problem, they're going to stop foraging. Your bees are going to stop foraging. So that's something that could happen. So luckily enough, that was a European hornet. That's something we have here in New York. Hawking behavior. So it's kind of what we were talking about. It's when a hornet will come and stalk a hive and hover right in front of it and pick off foragers. And this will eventually lead to the hive not foraging, which could become a huge problem. If they're not bringing the pollen, they're not rearing brood, it's going to be a trickle cycle. Luckily, the European hornet, which is the only hornet here in New York that does that, does it solo. But does anyone recognize that hornet in that picture? The fourth segment is yellow, and in between the first and second segment is a solid yellow line. If you flip your cards over, that is the yellow-legged hornet. So that is a new invasive creature that's in Georgia right now, and it most likely will be in New York in the next few years. So it's very important for us to be able to identify this. This creature will do this hawking behavior in packs, in large groups. So if they find your hive and they think it's a good food source, there might be 20 or 30 of them doing this. And your hive will just stop foraging altogether, and it will kill off your hive. Luckily we don't have this in New York City yet, but it's very important for us to keep track of this. So we'll go through this right now. Typically don't bother guard bees, they're going to hover in front of the hive, and your hive will stop foraging. So if you see a European hornet doing this, first thing would be to identify it, make sure it's a European hornet. If it's the yellow-legged hornet, you better call your state inspector and let them know. But if it's the European hornet, they know about it. Try to just get rid of that one. And it really is, they're doing it solo. So I have a collection of them, and you can pass that around, that larger one. If I see one hovering, if I see one hovering in front of the hive, I just go to the jar. Again, I've never seen one resting. So you can just go catch them and remove them, and sometimes that ends the problem. So this is the back of your card that I handed out. So just want everyone to be aware of the yellow-legged hornet. And if you see one of these, definitely call your state inspector. Try to catch it if you can, but I don't know about the aggression on this one. And if you go to the Georgia State Agricultural website, they have a great website dedicated just to this species. You can track all the sightings, how they try to get rid of them. It gives you so much great information, how to deal with them. And here's a little life cycle for the annual year. And they actually show right here that in July is when they're going to start attacking honeybee hives. Great website, check it out. Thankfully, right now, it's still only in Georgia. It's still considered being controlled, so it's not established or naturalized here. All right, I'm just going to show some quick show and tell videos. We're going to look at the right. So this is a European hornet. Again, they live inside cavities. Just to get an idea of their size. They're larger than my thumb. Nurse bees, got the larvae, cocoons made out of silk. The larvae are actually almost twice as big as the adult wasp.
What did you do? Just vacuum them up?
Vacuum them out, yeah. I don't use any chemicals. So it's a physical removal.
What do you do? What do you when you trap? Where do you put them?
They're in a jar, pass them around.
No, I'm saying we kill them.
Yes, these I euthanize, yes.
Okay,
I don't think anyone wants to relocate these into their yard. So these are the bald-faced hornet nests, and I have 4 bee yards. 2 of them have these within 5 feet of my hives, and I leave them. I've had one the last 3 years. I've had them come and rebuild almost in the same spot. And I say good morning to them every day, just like I say good morning to my bees. And they're fine, and they don't bother my bees if my bees are strong and healthy and we're not in dirt. So these are beneficial creatures. These are not only hunting our honeybees, they're hunting the lanternflies and aphids and all these other stuff. These are native creatures. I mean, they're not necessarily something that we need to go after. We just need to be aware of them. And sometimes it's actually our honeybees' fault. Like we need to go and help our honeybees more than we need to stop them. Does that make sense? I just want to do a quick shameless plug. But 2 years ago, I broke my hand, so I was out of work for 6 months. And I wrote a kid's book, and it's about bald-faced hornets. So you can take a look at that afterwards, if you want to. And it is a true story, so this is actually from a playground, and that's the bald-faced hornet nest that was in the playground. And thank you very much. And here we got some yellow jackets devouring a spot lanternfly, just so you can appreciate them a little bit more.
So what's the thought process behind that? Because that didn't happen the first year. So people are saying that the tree of heaven, that they would use their nectar, gives off a pheromone that yellow jackets and hornets did not want. And so now they're saying there's not enough tree of heaven, and they are foraging off all types of other nectar-bearing trees. And so that is why their numbers are down this year, because Yellow jackets and hornets and wasps are all on top of it.
I'll tell you that the hornets and yellow jackets, well, not the yellow jackets, but the bald-faced hornets, I know for a fact we're hunting them from year one on settlements.
Yeah.
Because I was finding them in the nests. I
Yeah,
was
same
finding,
thing.
yeah.
So I saw
So
that
it-
and I was kind of, okay, why are they doing that this year?
Well, see, this particular, these are yellow jackets, so they're scavenging. They're already finding a dead one and just
Yeah.
taking it home. But,
No.
the hornets will actually hunt them.
Yeah.
And the bald-faced hornets will hunt them
Yeah.
as well.
Kevin, do any of the wasp family members pollinate by accident?
Yes, so wasps are what we call accidental pollinators. So they're not covered with fur. They don't have pollen pockets or anything like our bees have. But when they're going to the flowers to get nectar, which is their sugar source, their carbohydrate source, they do accidentally pollinate. And a lot of them will hunt on flowers while they wait for actual pollinators to show up. So while they're doing that, they hop from flower to flower, stalking them, and accidentally end up pollinating them. And there are certain species of wasps that are direct pollinators. For instance, the fig wasp is the only species that pollinates the fig tree. So again, it's wasps and bees, the line is not very clear. So, but yes, wasps are pollinators.
I know you talked about this, but just to make sure I have it right with an example, with at the community garden that I volunteer at, whenever we open up the hive, we thought we were seeing like yellow jackets coming in and robbing, but you're saying that like most likely there's other issues.
So when you're doing an inspection, yes, that's probably what you're seeing,
Okay.
especially if there's a dearth out. The honeybees that know your hive, the wasps, the yellow jackets that know your hive is there, they will take advantage of the situation of you doing the inspection.
Okay.
And they will try to get in, especially into the honey super. But typically if it's just like a handful, when you close that hive back up, the bees will kill them. They'll take care of that.
Yeah.
But while you have the hive exposed, yes, you're probably seeing them rob the honey. And again, they're not going for the bees, they're going for the honey.
And then if we still see yellow jackets kind of like entering in and out when everything's closed up, does that mean that it's like an issue with the security? Like, are there just
If you, like right after your inspection might be a different story, but if you just go on a regular day and you're doing an external visual inspection and you see yellow jacks going in and out, there's a problem in your hive. And I would definitely open up your hive and figure out what that is. So your hive is not strong, it's not healthy, there's an issue. I don't know what it is. It could be that there's too much space. Maybe you put like an empty honey super on it and it's too much space for your bees to handle. Or maybe your bees are sick. You know, there's a lot of different things. But you wouldn't see yellow jackets, the species we have here, you wouldn't see them going in and out of a healthy hive.
So every beekeeper should know that the venom for all of them is different. And so you can have absolutely no reaction to a honeybee sting because you've been stung and your body doesn't react. My girlfriend Grace Mel, I want to say 15-year beekeeper, got stung by a yellow jacket and she ended up in the hospital, right? Myself, I got stung by a hornet and I want to say my hand, it still had that 2 weeks ago pinky, went all the way down and came back and so it was like mid, so I had to go and get a shot. So realize that because it's nothing to mess around with. You know, like he lets them stay. I'm not crazy about letting them stay. And I do proactive. In the springtime, when their queens are first emerging, that's when I want to put a trap up to get the queen that will be the nest for 10 other hives.
I didn't mention anything about how to remove or euthanize them. That wasn't the speech today. But definitely be careful with them. I get stung by honeybees 20 times a day. It means nothing about these girls. When I'm doing the bald-faced hornets, again, I was blind for about 15 minutes once. And typically, if they're aggressive, I'll put a full face shield on because they will spray it at me through the veil. So 100%. Make sure you know what you're doing before you approach
Just need to
one.
be aware, you know. So if I had had a ring on, I would have had to have that cut off because that's how fast my hands rolled out. So just be aware.
But again, just like your bees, people think they're really aggressive when they're not. Once you get to know them, you realize they really don't want anything to do with humans, and if you leave them alone, they're going to leave you alone. So